Hey guys, this is FIDE Master Kostya Kuzitsky here for Chess.com, and today I'm going to be doing a new series, and the point of this series is just going to be to give players of intermediate level, maybe 1200 through 1800, some basic calculation tips and how to improve your calculation, specifically when you're looking for a forced win or some kind of forcing winning continuation. Basically, this is going to improve your tactical ability, and I'm hoping to give you guys some insight into the thought process of how to find tactical solutions to problems and how to finish the game in the most effective way, and give you guys some useful tips on how to improve your calculation, improve your thought process, make things go a little bit easier and smoother when you're looking for solutions. So the position you have in front of you right now is from one of my own games, and it's black to play and win. So if you want to try and solve it, I would definitely recommend that. The best way to get better at something is to try and fail and then get better, because you learn by trying, right? So if you want to pause the video and try and solve this problem, it's black to play and win. I would definitely recommend to do that. So otherwise, we're going to move on. In the game, I was pretty much only looking for a way to save the game, to draw, because I've been defending the whole game and I had to play out this long endgame, and it looks like white was just about ready to win by attacking my rook and getting ready to queen their pawn, and I was just hoping to find a way to save the game using the d3 pawn as counterplay. So I went for the pretty obvious move d2. And the point of this move, of course, is that if white takes the pawn, then I can take their pawn and the game is drawn. This is what happened in the game. The main point of the move I played was that if white takes my rook here, I can give bishop d4 check, blocking the rook from controlling the d1 square, and I queen my pawn next, and, well, in this case, black wins. So after d2, white was forced to take on d2, I took on h7, and we drew the game pretty quickly. But the right move here was actually the move rook takes h7. In order to find this move, you basically just have to use a very basic principle when calculating, which is reversing the order of moves. And what that means is, a lot of times if you're trying to figure out some combination, there's usually certain tactical elements. In this case, the key tactical point you have to see was that black has this resource, at some point bishop d4 check, blocking the rook from the d file and being able to queen our pawn. So the point here is that if white takes the rook, we play d2. The only way white can try and stop this pawn is to play rook d7, and now bishop d4 check, and black wins the game. We queen on the next move. What's the main difference here? Well, the difference is that our pawn after rook takes h7 is still on d3, so white can't play rook takes d3. We can just take it and be up a rook. So because of that, this is a winning solution for black, because, well, white has to do something like rook d8, and then we simply have this extra pawn here. In fact, right away black has bishop d4 check, king f1, and rook h1 mate. So basically after rook takes h7, white more or less has to resign. Is it hard to find a move like this? I think it's pretty difficult if you're not looking for a winning continuation, which is, I think, probably the main thing that keeps players from finding winning moves in their games, is that you're not always looking for some kind of tactic when you're playing a game. No one tells you, oh, by the way, it's black to play and win. You can only make your own evaluation of the position and then decide, if you have some kind of combination or winning tactic to win the game. But your radar isn't always perfect. It's not like you always know when you have a winning combination. And in this case, since I was defending this long endgame, I was only looking for ways to save the game. I had no idea I had a chance to win with rook takes h7. And of course, after rook takes h7, rook takes h7, d2, rook d7. This was the whole point, is that, we reversed the order of moves. Instead of pushing d2 first, we forced white's rook away and then back, having them lose time. And after bishop d4 check, it's also important to recognize that after rook takes d4 check, king takes d4, white's knight or king have no way of stopping this pawn, and black wins. So in our second position here, it's white to play and win. So if you want to pause the video and try to find the winning continuation without any hints, then now's the time to do that. But otherwise, we'll move on. This is also taken from one of my older games, and well, basically, white has sacrificed a couple of pawns, 3 to be exact, for some initiative. Obviously, we have this open H file, we have this active knight, and black's pieces seem pretty poorly placed. Like this knight and rook are out of the game, the queen seems tactically suspect, and of course, the king here is quite vulnerable. But in order to finish off the game, you do have to show some finesse and some tactical ability. And there's actually several wins here. I mean, a move like knight h6 check, takes, rook takes, would definitely lead to a win. White can play knight takes e4, and at some point we're going to bring our queen here, get rid of this knight, and play bishop e5, and, the game will be over, right? So I can't really cover everything because I'm sure there was more than one win here. Knight takes g7 was probably, I'm almost positive this was winning too. King takes, and knight takes e4. Basically, anything that brings our pieces closer to black's king will likely be a winning solution. Okay, maybe rook h8 and black can survive, but the point is that I did want you guys to find the most powerful and effective way to finish the game, and that was the move knight d5. And this is what I played. So the point of this move is that we're threatening knight takes e7 with a checkmate, and we're basically removing this defender, the f6 knight, from black's king side. If you study this position for a couple of minutes, you'll realize that this knight is, the most important defender because it's defending this h5 square. Like I said before, if the queen can get to h5, the game is basically over. And knight d5 comes with 2 pretty strong threats. The first is to take on e7 with mate, and the second is to take on f6. So black has no choice but to play knight takes d5. Now, I played knight takes g7, which is good enough because I'm attacking the queen. Black is pretty much forced to take the knight after king takes g7, queen h5. It was basically mate in a few moves. But even stronger would have been just to play queen h5 right away. And black doesn't really have a good answer to queen h7 followed by a checkmate. So like if f6 here, a nice mate is queen h7 check, king f7, knight h6 check, king e6 is forced, and queen f5 mate, for example. So the reason I wanted to show you guys this problem is that a lot of times if you're looking for this knockout blow, you really have to dig deep into the kind of the essence of the position and try to figure out what's really preventing your opponent's position from collapsing immediately. And in this case, it was the knight defending this important square h5 and h7. So knight d5 pretty much calls for itself, and queen h5 was just winning immediately. I also wanted to point out here that the move bishop e5, in the same vein of just removing this defender, would have been equally strong, and white even has this threat of like knight takes g7 and queen h5, taking advantage of this pin followed by mate. So, if you got to this position and you found something that looks pretty convincing, it likely was winning, but I did want to show you guys the absolute strongest win, the most principal move, knight d5, also bringing our last piece into the attack and really putting the nail in black's coffin here. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll see you around on chess.com.